Hey guys, it's JL. So today I want to make a video about the pros and cons of being a dog groomer. I've been working with dogs for almost 5 years now, so I'd like to think that I'm experienced enough that I can make a video like this. And I feel like dog grooming is a career, I guess you could say, that a lot of people think, oh, that's easy. They just play with dogs all day. Oh, that's easy. I can cut my dog's hair. And people have this misconception that it's this really easy job and you just hang out with dogs all day. One of my favorite things about being a dog groomer is that the environment is like a very chill environment. You come in, you put your bag down, you kind of work at your own pace. It's not like uniform and like you have to do exactly this time, exactly that time. You kind of do what you want, if you want to say, at your own pace, as long as you get the job done when it needs to get done, basically. Another thing I really like about the job is having request clients. So request clients are basically exactly what it sounds like. People who specifically want you to groom their dog or dogs. And I just like that because it makes you feel special, because obviously they love the way you do it. You usually grow a relationship with them, you grow a relationship with their dog. So it's like, hey, how you been? How's Fluffy or whatever? And it's kind of cool to have that relationship with someone and know that they prefer you and trust you with their dog. It's a nice feeling. Another perk or pro, I should say, the freedom to kind of talk however you want to, because at least in my grooming salon, how it works is that they come in, they drop off their dog, and then they leave. And then once, there's not an owner always in the salon. So when there's no owners in the salon, you can talk, you can listen to music, you can talk about whatever you want. It's again, a really chill environment where you don't have to be perfect every second, because it's not a customer breathing down your neck. Unless they're looking through the windows, but even if they're looking through the windows, they still can't hear you, so you can still say whatever you want to each other, so that doesn't really matter. Another pro is that you can bring your dog to work, at least I do. So another one is I found myself getting really close to the people I work with. I know this is not always the case because different salons are different, so sometimes there's drama, or some people don't get along, but in salons I've been in long term, we've always all got along. It almost feels like a family, because you get to, you're talking to each other all day. That's all you can do, really. So you get to know each other, you get to know how each other are, you kind of grow a bond. My first salon I ever worked at, I still talk to all of them. I'm really close with all of them. I have their numbers, have them on Facebook. We're all friends, and we all hang out at work, and that's pretty cool. Another pro is I love seeing the outcome of a dog. When you do a groom and the dog looks beautiful and the groom looks awesome, it's awesome to see that dog. It's awesome to see the parents' reaction when they love the way it looks, and they're like, oh, this is so cute, you did amazing. That's all fun, and it makes you feel good. Another pro is commission. So at least for the most part, as far as I know, all groomers make commission. So basically what that means is as many dogs as you groom is as much as you make. So you kind of make your own paycheck. The more dogs you groom, the more money you make. Now, with this being said, you don't want to rush through dogs, because that's how you injure them or yourself. That's how the haircuts come out crappy and the quality is just crap. So you don't want to go so fast because you want to make money and then send out bad looking dogs or hurt dogs or anything like that. You can make a lot of money in this career. It just depends on how fast you can work or how much you charge, because mobile groomers charge more because they're coming to you. Groomers that come to your house charge more because they're coming to your house. Let's go on to the cons of dog grooming, because I know people think dog grooming is all easy and fun, but there are definitely some cons to being a dog groomer. The first one is rude customers. Believe it or not, some people are very specific and picky about the way their dog looks, if you're gonna bathe them first, if they're gonna be in a kennel. We've dealt with some rude customers, especially when it comes to shaving dogs down. If you talk to any dog groomer, they've met customers like this. They don't want to brush their dog. They don't want to take care of the coat. So when they bring their dog in, it's matted, which means it's all tangled up and you can't get a comb or brush through. And they want you to brush out their dog. I'm always willing to brush out the dog if the matting's not too severe, and B, if the dog will tolerate it. Because some dogs don't tolerate it. Imagine your hair's all scrunched up and stuck together, and someone's taking a comb or a brush or whatever tool and ripping it out. That's painful. So a lot of times customers aren't happy with us because we're we have to shave it down. The dog, we don't want to hurt the dog. We don't want to pull the dog's hair out of its skin, because that's cruel and painful and not fair to the dog. It's not the dog's fault you didn't brush it. But we'll have customers who are so angry with us because we dare shit on their dogs, and then here come the Facebook reviews and the Facebook rants and talking all crap, how dare that groomer do that? They shouldn't be a groomer, blah, blah, blah. And so a con is that customers don't understand that we're not going to hurt your dog just because you want them to look a certain way. And some customers don't understand, if your dog doesn't have the same coat as the picture that you just showed me, I can't make your dog look like that because it doesn't have the same coat. It's not the same dog. Some customers don't know what they want, so they'll explain one thing, you'll do what they want, and they'll get mad. So A huge giant con to me that almost makes me not want to be a groomer sometimes is the rude customers, because they can be very degrading, very disrespectful, and they love to blame the groomer for anything. Like, a lot of times dogs will come in with pre-existing conditions, for example, like ear infections or something's wrong with their skin, and a customer will be so quick to blame us. So that's why when we check dogs in, we're always told, make sure you look the dog over very carefully, look at every single detail of the dog, because these customers will come back in here and they'll say you did something to their dog. They'll say you caused the skin irritation or caused ear infections. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure sometimes it is the groomer's fault. Sometimes groomers make mistakes, or they use products that they shouldn't have, or the blade was too hot and it irritates the skin. Sometimes it is the groomer's fault. I'm not saying we're perfect and we don't ever make mistakes, but I've had a lot of times that I've seen customers come in and blame a groomer or even blame me for things that we did not do. Another con is bad dogs. Dogs, if you don't bring them in as puppies and get them used to the whole process, and you decide until like they're like 7 months old or a year old or however long to bring them in for grooming, they're probably going to give the groomer a pretty hard time because they're not used to it. So we'll have dogs trying to bite us, scratching at us, trying to attack us. Like, I've been bit by dogs several times, and I've learned throughout the years how to kind of avoid that and the signs of when a dog's gonna be aggressive. But dogs get aggressive with us all the time. So when people say, oh, you're just playing with dogs, no, we're not. We're usually getting beat up by dogs. They've anal landed on us, they'll poop on us, pee on us, they'll try to eat our faces. Like, I've seen some pretty horrific bites and injuries from dogs to groomers. So keep in mind, it's not guaranteed you'll get bitten, but you'll at least get scratched up pretty good, because a lot of dogs don't like having their nails done. They don't like being touched a certain way. They don't like their tail being touched, or they don't like their ears being touched. Dogs are like humans. They're picky about certain things. They don't want certain things to be touched or messed with. But unfortunately, to get the groom done or to cut the nails, you have to do it. Now, of course, if they're so bad to the point where they're stressing themselves out to a point where it seems bad, you stop and you say, I can't do this. You're gonna take it to a sedated groomer, or you're gonna take it to the vet to get it done. Because we're not gonna push dogs past their limit to the point where they're like freaking out. You have to keep in mind that you're gonna come in, sometimes these dogs are gonna be like fighting you tooth and nail for every little thing you do, or they'll be perfectly fine for everything, and out of nowhere they'll snap on you for one little thing. Like, dogs, we get dogs who are unpredictable, or we get dogs who are just horrible the whole time. And then, of course, we get the good dogs, the dogs who are perfect and sweethearts. And it's not necessarily that these dogs are bad dogs. They just aren't used to the grooming process, or they just don't like it. We have dogs who are terrible on the table, but the second you take them down, you're playing with them and talking to them, they're great and they're sweet and they have the best personality. They just don't like being groomed. And you need a lot of patience, because they will try to bite you, they will try to hurt you, and you can't just like react and like get mad or whatever. You need to be calm, say, be calm, do it at a different angle, try a different method, or just give the dog a break, or just don't do it at all and let it be and tell the owners that the dog wouldn't let you do it. Another con for me is that we don't really get weekends off, at least not where I work, the company I work for, because the weekends tend to be Monday to Friday jobs. People are usually off on the weekends, so that's when they bring their dogs in. So we usually don't get weekends off, and we usually have to work like holidays. Like, and I don't mean on Christmas Day and on Thanksgiving Day, but the days surrounding it, like Christmas Eve, the day before Thanksgiving, New Year's and all that. We usually have to work like without a choice, at least for my company, because people want their dogs done for Christmas. People want their dogs done for Thanksgiving, because families coming over and they want their dogs to look good. So that's a popular time. Another con of this job is very physically demanding. Like, you don't get just tiny little cute fluffy dogs. You get golden retrievers, golden doodles, labs, like Australian shepherds. You get a lot of big breeds too. And a lot of times, like, they don't want to get on the table and you have to physically lift them up, or they want to keep sitting the whole groom. You have to keep lifting them up, keep lifting them up. Like, if you think about grooming a dog, like, you're working around the dog. The dog's not working around you, you're working around the dog. So you have to turn this way and turn that way and move this way and hold the leg up this way and do all kinds of movements, and you're not sitting, at least not for me, at least not where I work. We stand the whole time. There's no sitting allowed in the salon. So the whole time you're standing, and then when you're washing dogs, especially big dogs, if you're washing them on the floor, you're down on the ground, kneeling down, like washing underneath them, or if you don't want to kneel down, you have to pick them up and put their huge bodies into a tub. So the job is definitely very physically demanding. And when I was pregnant, like, I had to groom less dogs because I just couldn't do it. It was way too much physical work, and I just needed less dogs because it's a lot of work. Like, you'll go home sore and tired. So if you have back problems or you have like physical limitations, this job might not be for you, because it is very physically demanding. Like, everything you do physically. And a lot of groomers, when they're like older, get carpal tunnel in their hands because you use your hands and you're scissoring and like you're using your fingers constantly for everything you do. So imagine doing that for 10, 20 years. Like, some people's bodies just can't handle all that. And also, commission can also be a downside, because when it's slow, you're basically making no money, or you get dropped down to whatever your hourly is and you're only making hourly, which, at least for me, the hourly is not that great. It's like It's like minimum wage, I think. And when your bills don't go away all because it's slow and you're not making commissions. Once Christmas is over, it's like slow for a couple months. No, I think no matter where you work, honestly, because no one's really getting a dog groom. It's cold in a lot of places. People are staying in, staying home. They want their dogs to stay fluffy. Another thing is that grooming can be very like intense and scary because you have to remember, and again, a lot of people don't realize this, you are using scissors and like a bunch of sharp objects and brushes and dematters that have like blades in them, and these dogs are moving targets. They don't stay still. They don't know if they put their foot back it's gonna go into a scissor. They don't know that. They're just being dogs. So you have to be careful in what direction you scissor in, because if a dog's standing and you're scissoring upwards and that dog sits all of a sudden, they're sitting directly on your scissors, and that's an incident, and that dog's gonna get cut, and those owners are not gonna be happy with you. So there's a lot of like precise, very specific things that you have to keep in mind when grooming a dog, because it can take like a split second and the dog will have a gash on it or a cut on it or a scrape on it because it yanked or it pulled or it freaked out or it snipped at your scissors. Like, it's so easy to cut a dog, which is why you have to be so careful and so like aware of where your tools are and what you're doing, and if the dog, pay attention to the dog and the dog's manners and how the dog's feeling, and if the dog keeps sitting, then you know to be careful when you're scissoring around its butt because it could sit at any second. So there's things like that. Like, it's not like it's a job where you have to pay attention to what you're doing. You can just be like in La La Land scissoring and doing whatever you want to. Like, you have to be paying attention. Groomers should not be cutting dogs left and right. If you're cutting dogs left and right, then you need to stop grooming because you're doing something wrong, or you just don't have the skills for it, to be honest with you. But sometimes an accident will happen. Sometimes a paw pad will get scraped or whatever like that, and it sucks because you're not in this job. You don't want to hurt the animal. You don't want to upset the owner. So when that happens, a lot of times for groomers, that's really devastating for us. Another downfall is bad grooms. Sometimes dogs have like coats where the coats are just like bad coats. If you're a groomer, you know what I mean. If you're not, you might not. And the coat, no matter what you do to the dog, the coat just doesn't look good. The haircut, you're just not happy with it. You're not satisfied with it, but time's ticking in. The dog's been here for over a certain amount of time, and you have to send the dog home. And sometimes you're not happy with it. Sometimes you're really nervous. Like, are they gonna like the way it looks? Are they gonna say something? Are they gonna complain? Are they gonna say it looks ugly? And that, again, could give you a lot of anxiety and make you really nervous. So keep that in mind. The owners are not always gonna love the haircut. And sometimes it's something you did. Sometimes it's just like, they just didn't like it. You didn't do anything wrong. They just didn't like your style of grooming, or they didn't like the method you used and the way it turned out. The last thing I want to say, the last con I'd say is burnout. A lot of groomers get burned out because it gets, after a while, you get tired of like dogs who fight you all the time, and owners who are coming here and rude to you and tell you to do the job, or don't show up on time and don't respect you. Like, groomers take a lot of shit from the dogs and from the dogs' owners, to be honest, and to be quite frank with you. Like, it's not always gonna be a good day. There's gonna be days when you go home and you're like, I'm sick of being a groomer. I don't want to be a groomer anymore. I'm sick of dealing with these badass dogs. I'm sick of dealing with these rude ass customers. I just want to be done. You think being a dog groomer, you wouldn't really have to deal with people, but it's their dog grooming, because so they're gonna want a certain way, because they're paying you their money and they want their dog to look how they want them to look. So if they don't look the way they want them to look, or if they don't like the price, or they don't understand why they're getting charged for this, or why they're getting charged because the dog's matted, it's a whole bunch of bullshit that you have to deal with. What I would suggest is, if you want to be a dog groomer, first be a dog bather, because being a bather will show you kind of what it's like to be a dog groomer. You're not going to be cutting the hair, you're just going to be giving the baths and doing their nails. But it'll show you like how physically demanding it is. It'll show you how the customers are, how the dogs can fight you. So if you can't survive being a bather, do not try and be a groomer. A lot of people just pick up a pair of clippers and scissors and say, I'm a dog groomer, but they don't realize the skill and the patience and like the method and everything that goes into it, because it's really like an art almost. Grooming a dog is like an art. You either got it or you don't. If you're going to be a dog groomer because you want to play with dogs and you think this is an easy, nice, fun job, reality check. It's not. It's really not at all. It's so much more complicated than people realize, and you probably don't and won't realize it until you become a dog groomer or try to be a dog groomer. Sorry this video is so long. There's just so much to it, and it just frustrates me that so many people think dog grooming is such an easy job. Like, I've encountered people myself that are like, oh, you're a dog groomer, that must be easy. You must just like play with dogs all day or just cut their hair and go home. It's an easy job. It really isn't. You really have to love dogs, and you really have to like have patience with them to do this job, because there are days where the dog will frustrate you to no end, and you're like, you know what, I gotta put you away. I need to take like 5 minutes to breathe and just calm down, because they can be frustrating because they don't know what you're doing. They're fighting you, they're biting you, and it's like, all I have to do is snip this thing right here and we're done, and they won't let you. It's almost like dealing with a kid who doesn't want to like get their shoes put on or something like that. Like, they'll fight, and little do they know, if you just let me do this real quick, we're done. You can go home, I can go home, we're done. But if you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll answer them. I think dog grooming is a very misconcepted career that people think is like easy peasy, lemon squeezy, and it's not. The only reason I've lasted and groomers last in general is because they love animals, and at the end of the day, they love dogs and they love what they do. These customers will come for you, come for your throat, come for your job, accuse you of all kinds of crazy things, and talk to you however they want to. But I guess that comes with most jobs, but people don't play when it comes to dogs. Thank you for watching my video. Like I said, if you have any questions, leave them down below, or if you want me to make another video about specific parts of grooming, I can do that too, because like I said, I've been doing this for 5 years, so I'm not the most experienced groomer out there, but I've been doing it long enough where I know pretty much everything. So feel free to leave a comment. Bye.